Plenty of sunny spells to end the day across northern England, and it'll feel rather warm. Skies will be a little cloudier along the northeast coast. Thundery showers will continue across Scotland this evening, bringing heavy downpours of rain. Showers will be hit and miss with some drier spells in between. It should be mostly dry, and a mostly dry end to the day across Northern Ireland, with some bright spells. However, the odd heavy shower is possible. Thunderstorms will continue in the north overnight, staying largely dry and warm elsewhere, with a few showers moving into the west after midnight. And that's how the weather's shaping up overnight into tomorrow morning.
Hello, I'm Alastair Stewart, and I'd invite you to join me at noon on Saturdays and Sundays for Alastair Stewart and Friends. I've been in this business for over 40 years. Now, here at GB News, I've never been happier. I get to choose the big stories that really interest me. We hear what you have to say, and you hear what I have to say. I really hope you can join me, noon on Saturdays and Sundays.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness, brilliant. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello and welcome to GB News on your TV and on your digital radio. I'm Dawn Neeson, covering for the lovely Nana this week, and for the next 2 hours my panel and I will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion, mine, theirs, more importantly yours. We'll be debating, discussing and at times disagreeing in a nice, kind way. Joining me today, it's Conservative councillor Claire Pearsall and broadcaster Danny Kelly. Welcome to you both, looking gorgeous and matching as well. I didn't get the blue and white stripe memo. Right, before we get started, let's get the latest news headlines with the very lovely Bethany Elsey.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. It's just gone 4 o'clock. I am Bethany Elsey, here to bring you up to date from the GB newsroom. So Salman Rushdie's agent says the author is on the road to recovery after being stabbed at an event in New York on Friday. Andrew Wiley says that despite severe injuries, he's been taken off a ventilator and he's heading in the right direction. The man accused of attacking him, 24-year-old Hadi Mattar, has pleaded not guilty to attempted murder and assault. The 75-year-old author has faced years of death threats for his writing, most notably for his novel, The Satanic Verses. Police are investigating a threat made on Twitter to Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. Miss Rowling expressed her concern following the stabbing of Sir Salman and received a message saying, "Don't worry, you're next." A spokesperson for Police Scotland says they're carrying out inquiries. The tweet has since been taken down. Labour will call for the energy price cap to be frozen under £2,000 this autumn as households struggle with the soaring cost of living. Sir Keir Starmer is expected to set out the proposals tomorrow. Tory leadership hopefuls Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss are under pressure to block an expected increase in October to £3,300. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak says he plans to make Britain energy secure, including boosting North Sea gas production. The former Chancellor says he'd legislate to make sure the UK's energy is independent by 2045, as he vows to ensure there's no repeat of the looming winter crisis. Well, the Business and Energy Minister, Greg Hands, told GB News a long-term plan is essential.
But that's also why Rishi Sunak has laid out a comprehensive plan for energy security going forward, making sure we're energy independent within a generation. You know, that takes a long time to make changes on energy. It takes a long time to commission nuclear power plants. It already takes 10 years or more to build an offshore wind farm. So you need to have a long-term plan as well. Rishi Sunak has got that in place.
Well, Tory MP Ranil Jayawardena, who's supporting Liz Truss in the leadership race, claims there's been scaremongering around energy prices. He also says the Foreign Secretary plans on creating an emergency budget if she wins.
The energy prices are projected at this moment in time. We will know soon, but we don't have the actual figure just yet. So that's a really important point for people. And I do regret that there has been scaremongering from some quarters on this. Second, I do believe that the pause on the energy levy is a really important immediate relief for families with their energy bills, alongside the cut in NI that will help people. But if elected Prime Minister, Liz has also said that she will hold an emergency budget to see what more can be done at that time.
More than 20,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel in small boats so far this year. Government figures show 607 crossings were made yesterday. It's the third time the daily numbers exceeded 600 since the start of this year. Last year, a total of more than 28,000 crossings were reported in total. At least 41 people have been killed and 45 injured after a fire broke out inside a church near Egypt's capital, Cairo. There are fears many of those killed were children. It's understood the electrical fire blocked an entrance to the church in the city of Giza, causing a stampede as 5,000 people gathered there for Mass. Over 1,500 people have been urged to evacuate their homes in Spain as large wildfires sweep through the country. Around 300 firefighters have been sent to the northeast region to help battle the flames. Extreme hot weather has already caused several wildfires to ravage parts of Europe. Well, back here, a teenage boy has died after going into the sea at Skegness yesterday. Lincolnshire police have said they received 10 calls within 2 hours reporting missing people on the coast. That as the heatwave continues today, with temperatures remaining high across parts of the UK, reaching up to 32 degrees. It comes ahead of 3 days of yellow weather warnings for thunderstorms. The Met Office says there's a high risk of flash flooding and power cuts. This is GB News. We're bringing you more news as it happens now. Let's get back to Dawn.
Hello, you're with me, Dawn Neeson, covering for Nana today on GB News, on TV and on digital radio. Now, we're all going on a summer... Look, I don't hate you enough to sing, OK? No more working for a week or two. I think it was Cliff Richard that sang that, somewhat better than me, obviously. Though, to be fair, it could equally be Boris Johnson or Keir Starmer, or even the Taliban. Because not only have us mere mortals had to endure torture by selfie of various celebrities frolicking on their private yachts, this year it's political leaders too. Though obviously using the term leaders loosely here. Despite only having a couple of weeks before he can sit on a sun lounger, the rest of his life, if he likes, the Prime Minister has been doing spas in Slovenia and oozing in Greece. Sorry, that should be ouzo, though it's an easy mistake to make, isn't it, when you think of Boris and his budgie smugglers. Meanwhile, head of our absolutely no opposition whatsoever was having a hissy fit about no one being in charge of our zombie parliament. Why isn't Boris Johnson in his office sorting out the cost of living crisis? Said Keir Starmer, raged, positively profuse with fury. Oh, sorry, my mistake again. Keir was actually rather red in the face because he was doing his raging live from a luxury villa in Mallorca and was a tad sunburnt. Bless. Wonder if he had a side order of hypocrisy with his paella and chips. Look, everyone deserves a break. Being knackered at work doesn't do anyone any favours. But timing is everything, isn't it? Especially as for most of us, this year's annual holiday mostly involves 3 days sitting in an airport to get there, 3 days sitting in an airport waiting for our luggage when we return, and 3 months then trying to track down said luggage when it vanishes into the black hole of baggage handler hell. That's if you could afford a break in the first place, with even budget airlines now assuming your budget is actually that of a multimillionaire. Not that staycations are any cheaper, really, are they? With a combination of inflation and the heatwave pushing up the prices of absolutely everything, the traditional 99 ice cream has been renamed the £9.99. Plus, with Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss currently fitting in more tour dates than the Rolling Stones, your chances of bumping into them, hustling on the hustings, are really too high to risk staying here. Not just our leaders, though, is it? Who can forget the sight of Canada's mask lockdown and eco-zealot Justin Trudeau starting his hollybobs? Yeah. You know, where he's bouncing down the steps of his planet-destroying private jet totally mask-free. Still, sure he'll plant a few nice trees to offset his carbon footprint. Talking of trees, there's an awful lot of them on fire in France as heatwave-induced infernos torch the country. Not that President Macron can probably see, because he's currently on a jet ski in the Mediterranean. His explanation to the fuming French public, though, is that he's on a summer study break rather than an actual holiday. Mais oui, or taking the wing. Quite what Macron is meant to be studying is another matter. Which factor sun cream to apply, maybe? Meanwhile, in America, President Joe Biden is on holiday in South Carolina. Whether he actually realises it or not is another matter, though interestingly, he's currently on track to spend more time vacationing than any of the 4 previous presidents. Slightly worryingly, the one world leader not currently enjoying a hollybob is Vladimir Putin. In Russia, it's business as usual. Though, to be fair, why would you travel to another country where you can just simply invade one? Which brings us neatly back to the Taliban, remember? The new, improved, woke version who took over power in Afghanistan exactly a year ago tomorrow. Well, they've taken time off banning girls from going to school and stoning and beating women who don't cover themselves in hideous shrouds to have some time with their families. This involves taking souvenir snapshots of themselves and their kids, just the boys obviously, in cheerful swampadillos on a lake in Bandi Amir National Park. And a more joyous holiday scene you can't imagine. Cheerful smiles, sun hats, vests, flip-flops and assault rifles. Still, who doesn't go on holiday to admire a nice pair of bazookas on the beach? Before we get stuck into the debate, here's what else we have coming up today. At 5 o'clock, it's Outside, where I'm joined by a celebrity, a former MP, or someone who's had an extremely interesting career to take a look at life after the job. Today, I'll be joined by impressionist and Britain's Got Talent finalist, Francine Lewis. We'll talk about the highs and the lows, the lesson learned, and what comes next on the outside. And in the great British debate this hour, I'm asking, is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? According to a Savanta Comres survey, over 40% of people claim that the Tory members' ballot is an undemocratic way to select a Prime Minister. The decision is in the hands of around about 160,000 registered Tory members. We're not quite sure how many there actually are, which roughly equates to less than 0.4% of the electorate. So, whoever wins, do they really have a mandate to lead us all? And at the end of this hour, it's Worldview. Salman Rushdie has been taken off his ventilator and was able to talk yesterday as the US President Joe Biden held the rioters' courage. That's coming up in the next hour. But tell me what you think on everything we're discussing by emailing gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet me at gbnews. Right, let's get cracking, shall we? Welcome again to my panel, Conservative councillor Keir Pearsall and broadcaster Danny Kelly. Yay, welcome, and thank you for coming in on this lovely sunny Sunday afternoon.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, you're more than, and I love that you got the matching clothing,
His and hers,
which is slightly annoying. Yes, and obviously I'm dressed as a highlighter, by the way, today. Right, so first, I want to just discuss the story we were just talking about. All the leaders, the world leaders, not just ours, to be fair, on holiday. Isn't that nice? What do you reckon?
Well, a couple of things I can't quite shift from my mind there is Boris Johnson in his Speedo.
Stop.
Luckily for the radio listeners, that we didn't actually see that on TV. But what we did see was Macron and his gorilla-like hairy chest. Was that like some sort of carpet he was wearing to keep warm in the winter?
It's very fresh.
Mon Dieu, it is like a gorilla. I can't believe how hairy that man is.
Danny, he didn't look like he needed to keep warm, though, did he? He looked very glorious on the south coast of France.
He's a bit of a poser, isn't he?
Of course,
Joe Biden, again, for the benefit of those listening on the radio, he was stepping down from the Air Force chopper, whatever it's called, and he couldn't put his jacket on.
I know.
He couldn't find the other arm on his suit jacket.
And his wife had to help him, didn't she?
I know.
I actually feel a bit sad for that, to be honest.
It is care in the community time. So those, apart from those two things, everyone seems to be away from the office, don't they?
Yeah.
There's no high-ranking politician actually at work.
It's really, I mean, you know, it's not often you agree with Keir Starmer, but he has referred to it as a zombie parliament. And literally, who's in charge? I mean, Claire, you are a Conservative, aren't you?
I'll be in charge if you like.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You may as well, because at least you're working.
I am working.
Not
I've been
this is
working
work.
every day. But I think politicians, they are allowed a holiday, and we are in recess. However, and it comes with a massive caveat, if there is a crisis and they're away, they should return.
Yes.
Which doesn't always happen.
No.
Dominic Raab last year.
Yeah, that was a good one, wasn't it?
conflict.
Yeah. It was not much to worry about. It's just evacuating
It'll be fine, it'll be fine. I can sit here on my sun lounger. So as long as they know to come back, and the majority of them do, I don't see there's any problem. And actually the work gets done without them being there, and sometimes a little bit quicker. So there are still people making some decisions, but unfortunately we are in the position where no big decisions are being taken because we only have a Prime Minister in name only. We have a cabinet that's sort of sitting there going, well, we don't really know if we can sign off on anything. So I think we are pretty stuck. But it's interesting that every other world leader is having the same amount of
the same
grief
thing
from their public
Absolutely.
team.
I mean, I must admit, Danny, you know, I don't know what we all did so wrong in a previous life, not just us, but all over the world, to get the leaders we currently have.
What was great, it was quite a juxtaposition with the Taliban, those flip-flop wearing thugs.
I know.
On pedalos,
with
carrying
AK-47
rifles.
Yeah.
And they've got the biggest smiles in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And it's cruel that the kids, the baby boys, the toddlers are allowed. Of course, the girls, they can't be seen anywhere near the family having fun in the sun next to a fella with a beard and an AK-47. I've just come back from Cornwall, and I think you alluded to this in your monologue, the fact that, Dawn, you have to get to the airport 3 hours early.
Oh.
You then have the intrusive, the inspection, the interrogation, both a physical interrogation sometimes if you want to go to America, but certainly the personal, you know, you've got to take your shoes off and everything. Then you've got to get on a plane, and then you repeat the process coming back. I went to Bodmin for my 52nd birthday, and we came back on Thursday or Friday. Stayed at a Bodmin jail hotel, which is a converted jail. Oh, it's
know
amazing.
where it is,
It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
And do you know what, guys? The weather was like this.
Yes.
Why go abroad when you've got Cornwall and Devon, so long as the weather's right?
This is the problem, isn't it? It's the big if about the British weather. I mean, you know, we went to Cornwall, obviously, in staycation when you couldn't go anywhere else in any case. We went down there and the weather was OK, but not like this year, obviously.
Yeah.
But, Claire, this is the problem. I mean, we have got the most gorgeous countryside. Absolutely love it. But you can't rely on the weather.
You can't, and it's also really expensive. We went to Devon last year where we couldn't fly anywhere, and the holiday that we'd been sort of looking at for 2 years to Turkey, we took this year. And the cost of a week out in Turkey versus the week in the UK were the same price.
Yes.
And we had guaranteed sunshine. It was all-inclusive, and there was the sea and the pool, and it was lovely. Devon was beautiful, don't get me wrong.
It is
the weather was a
beautiful.
bit iffy on a few days, whereas this, every single day was 34 to 36 degrees, full stop.
Yeah. Well, that's the irony with us Brits, isn't it? We're moaning that we're having a heat wave at the moment. It's too hot, I can't stand it. And then we book holidays to go and experience the heat and the sun every single day.
Yeah.
But you know the most popular holiday destination this year for Brits, because it is actually very reasonably priced, is Albania. And bearing in mind that the majority of people crossing the channel in the small boats are Albanians.
That's right.
So there's obviously a lot of room in the country as well now.
Do you know the best thing? You mentioned about going abroad and it's 34 and we don't moan about it. That's because of air conditioning, because air conditioning is everywhere abroad. The best thing I did about 4 or 5 years ago was invest, and it is an investment, in portable air conditioning units that for 10 months of the year are locked in the garage.
Yes.
But believe you me, my bedroom last night was 19 degrees when it was 34 outside.
That's too cold for me, Danny. I'm sorry. It's not 22
There are ways
degrees.
to-
I'm not going to be in your bedroom
There are
anytime
ways to
soon.
warm yourself.
But the thing is, it's also expensive now because the husband actually did seriously think about going out and buying an air conditioning unit. You know, one of the small portable ones like you've got. And I think he managed to track down the last one in London, right? And he was so pleased with himself. And it was something like £3,000.
Really?
Yeah, but I think it was the last one in London. I mean, literally people were fighting over it. And he goes, I've got an air conditioning unit. I've got an air conditioning. I'm going to buy it. And I was like, how much? No, you're not. No, just stand in front of the fridge or something or other.
Get a fan.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I love the heat, I must admit, but I just think it is like, you know, when I first took over editing the national newspaper, I didn't, seriously, it's just not a joke, I didn't take a holiday for 2 years because I was so terrified of doing it wrong, of messing up. I had a very scary boss at the time. I just didn't take any holiday. It's not great. I don't advise it, and I made myself very ill by doing it. But I just think when you've got such an important job as running the country, and it's not exactly going well at the moment, is it? I mean, Boris is still Prime Minister, Claire.
Yes, he is, but unfortunately he cannot make any decisions. I mean, we are just in paralysis at the moment. It is a zombie government, and it's not great. And I can see that, and I can see that everybody looking in is just going to go, what are you doing and why?
Yeah.
But on the flip side of it, I do see a lot of MPs who work extremely hard, who don't see their families for many weeks of the year. They don't spend any time with their children, and they do it in the school holidays because that's when they have to do it. The rest of the time we're sitting in Parliament, you can't take your holiday, understandably, and why would you? So if they take 2 weeks, it's never going to be a good time.
No.
Whenever it is that they go, wherever they go, however much it costs you. Look at Theresa May. She went to Wales hiking and everybody criticised that. Boris has been to Scotland. People have criticised that. They've criticised him going off to Slovenia. Wherever you go, whatever you do as a politician,
I get you're going to be criticised. I just do think that at the moment, I mean, he's only got a couple of weeks to go, hasn't he, Boris? I just think he could have just at least been at least a figurehead.
Yeah.
And let's face it, if he took summer off to see his kids, we'd never see him, would we? Any case, this isn't political, by the way. Keir Starmer is, as we said, in Mallorca, enjoying and wearing a £150 shirt as well. In touch with the working classes, obviously there. Right, OK, well, I'm Dawn Neeson still, and I'm covering for Nana today on GB News, on your TV and on digital radio. After the break, it's time for the great British debate this hour. I'm asking, is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? According to a Savanta Commerce survey, over 40% of people claim that the Tory members' ballot is an undemocratic way to select a Prime Minister. The decision is in the hands of 160,000 registered Tory members, which roughly equates to less than 0.4% of the electorate. So whoever wins, do they really have a mandate to lead us? So send me an email at gbviews@gbnews.uk and tell us what you think. You can also tweet at GBNews, and there's a poll up right now asking, is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? Cast your vote right now. But first, it's the weather forecast.
Looking ahead to this evening's weather, and the UK will be dry for many, although parts of Scotland will continue to see some rain. Here are the details. It'll be a fine end to the day across southwest England with plenty of late evening sunshine. It'll feel fairly warm initially, but start to feel fresh after dusk. Southeast England and East Anglia will also end the day on a dry and sunny note, with temperatures still in the low 20s in London around dusk. There could still be some cloud around eastern Wales this evening, but much of the country will see clear skies to the end of the day.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Dawn Neeson, covering for Nana today on GB News, on TV and on digital radio. And it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. I always feel like I need a drum roll or something there. I'm asking, is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? According to a survey conducted by Savanta Comres, over 40% of respondents claim that the Tory members' ballot is an undemocratic way to select the country's next Prime Minister. Currently, the decision is in the hands of 160,000 registered Tory members, which roughly equates to less than 0.4% of the electorate. A majority of Brits would argue that the system is fundamentally flawed and that the government should be elected by the people directly. But others claim that the party does have a mandate from the previous election, where it's a bit of a landslide, wasn't it? Where they won, an overwhelming majority. So we have the government we voted for, maybe just not the leader. But for this hour, Great British Debate, I'm asking, is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? And I'm about to be joined, hopefully, by political commentator Benedict Spence. Hello, Benedict. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. So, Benedict, is it undemocratic?
Oh, in a way it is, but I think, as you pointed out there, we run our democracy is not a pure democracy. It's not a perfect one. It's a parliamentary one, and it's done by a system of political parties. And we have given one political party a mandate to form a government for the next few years, and it still has a majority in Parliament. I do think it's very interesting. I think you said it was about, 40% of people think that it's an undemocratic process. Well, I would ask any one of those people, first and foremost, did any of you vote Tory at the last general election? And I think you might find out a little bit. So I think you might find something out, therefore, about the leanings of those people as to whether or not they might think it was undemocratic were it another party that was in power. I think we need to remember, though, that the party system is very imperfect in that, of course, you have to pay to be a member, and you can't pay short term, just when a leadership contest is called, you need to have been a member for some time in order to be able to vote, certainly in the case of the Tory party. So that means that in some ways, it's not an awful lot of money to be a member of a political party, but it is an amount of money, and that does lock some people in society out of that process of being able to choose a party leader, which I suppose therefore does, it locks you out of one of the processes of choosing a prime minister. So in that sense, I think you could say that it was undemocratic. However, we all understand why it is. Parties need to be very discerning. They need to be made up of people who actually agree with their policies and who are therefore prepared to put their money where their mouth is and back that party. If it was just open to anybody, it would be a bit of a free-for-all. So whilst very imperfect, I know most people in this country did not vote Tory at the last general election expecting to have Liz Truss as their Prime Minister. That is the system that we have. And I wouldn't say it's the worst one in the world in terms of actually forming governments. As to whether or not you actually agree with what a party thinks, that's another matter.
So, I mean, this obviously begs the question, though, Benedict. Did we vote at the last general election for Boris Johnson, or did we vote for the Conservative Party?
This might sound very harsh, but if you voted for Boris Johnson, then that's kind of a you problem. If you're then not very happy with the system, you should understand the way that the system works. We don't vote for a president in this country. We don't vote for a prime minister in that sense. I know a lot of people do, and a lot of stories put in the leader, understandably, but you're voting for the party. You're voting for your local candidate as much as anything else. So, especially if you're sat in South Norfolk right now and you're upset at the potential prime minister being Liz Truss, well, again, you have the opportunity to vote for somebody else. As I say, again, it's a very imperfect system, but at the same time, there is a very good reason for it. We have the Queen as the head of state precisely so that power isn't concentrated too much in the hands of an individual. So that we don't have that sort of that sort of presidential head of state situation that other countries have, which works well for some of them, but as we've seen in recent years, certainly in the United States, can be very divisive, can cause an awful lot of issues. It puts a check on power, and it does mean it's slightly easier to get rid of an underperforming prime minister than, say, be stuck with him for an entire parliamentary term.
Well, it doesn't seem that easy. No, interestingly, the reason I mention that, Benedict, is that if the caretaker PM were running as a candidate, i.e. Boris Johnson, 46% of Tory voters would prefer he won, compared to only 24% for Liz Truss and 16% for Rishi Sunak. So there is this huge groundswell of support for Boris Johnson. I mean, we completely understand that we are voting for a party, but there does seem to be this Boris Johnson thing going on still.
I think a Boris Johnson thing is a very good way of describing it. He's a fairly unusual character. And he manages to inspire a lot of voters in a way that a lot of other politicians don't. But he has a particular relationship with his MPs. Not all of his MPs are particular fans. We all remember when Theresa May became Prime Minister. That was in some part because there was a very large Stop Boris campaign from amongst Tory MPs. And this, I think, is where it gets very interesting. The system is imperfect, in part, because there is a real disconnect between Tory MPs themselves, who are the ones that stand to gain the most from unseating a Prime Minister, and the members, who aren't the ones in Parliament, don't stand to gain so much, but were the ones that were very firmly behind him. I do wonder if, in some part, this is because of the options that have been chosen for the members by their MPs. Would we be saying something different if it was Penny Mordaunt or Priti Patel had decided to put herself forward, or, of course, Kemi Badenoch, who was very popular amongst a lot of the membership, quite surprisingly? The MPs decided, no, we don't want those people, we want these people. And that, I think, is where the issue comes, where a lot of members might be saying, this is undemocratic. It's the process of selecting the two people you get to decide between of being Prime Minister that's the issue, not so much the party themselves. The members would find an undemocratic process.
Well, we've already mentioned in my monologue at the beginning, Benedict, the hypocrisy of politics. But it's also very interesting that Labour are being quite vociferous in this isn't fair, it's undemocratic, exactly. When the last Prime Minister to be in this situation and to be undemocratically elected, not elected, is a Labour one in the shape of Gordon Brown, isn't it?
Yeah, although I do find it very amusing now that Gordon Brown is being wheeled out by a lot of Labour supporters as the voice of economic reason, partly because the current Labour leader doesn't really have very much to say of any use on the matter. I mean, we can talk about Gordon Brown separately if we want to. If ever you wanted somebody to oversee an economic crisis, hey, Gordon Brown's your man. But, obviously, the Labour Party are going to do this. They are in opposition. There is a dearth of ideas in the Labour Party at the moment. So all they can do is throw the traditional accusations. The Tories are undemocratic. They're undermining Britain's democracy. We're on a one-way path to fascism. That's what they do when they haven't got anything to offer. And that's not a secret, actually, to most of the electorate. And it's why right now the Labour Party, which could be storming to a lead, isn't doing that over the Tories because they just can't find within themselves the gumption, the message to persuade the British people that actually their direction is good. I would say a lot of members of the British public are not particularly enthused by Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak, but they know what the alternative is, and it's somebody who is offering absolutely nothing that's in any way incisive. And that, I think, tells you all you need to know about Labour's claims about this being undemocratic.
Well, interestingly, thank you so much for that, Benedict. Interestingly, they do seem to prefer our Angela Rayner over Keir Starmer, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time this afternoon, Benedict. Really appreciate it. Right, let's see what you have got to have a say on this issue. Vic says, the party makes its own rules in that regard, so it's democratic within said confines. Labour's membership has its own PLP influence and setup. I guess the Lib Dems do too. Rock, paper, scissors, or simply draw straws. They wouldn't have any straws either, would they? Meanwhile, Drew, you say, we elect a parliament, not a president in this country. What Benedict's just been saying. The leader of the party with the most number of MPs becomes our PM. The system is democratic. Meanwhile, Nathan, you say, getting rid of the old PM was undemocratic. Well, it was a bit knife in the back, wasn't it, from some areas? And, right, OK, well, thanks for all those messages. A huge debate going on here. I'm Dawn Neeson. I'm covering for Nana today on GB News, on TV and digital radio. After the break, we'll continue the great British debate. I'm asking, is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? You'll hear the thoughts of my panel, Conservative councillor Claire Pearsall and broadcaster Danny Kelly. Both of them there looking gorgeous. First is the latest news headlines with Bethany.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. It's 33 minutes past 4. I am Bethany Elsey in the GB newsroom. Sir Salman Rushdie's son says his father suffered severe and life-changing injuries when he was stabbed at an event in New York on Friday, but added his defiant sense of humour remains intact. The author's agent said the 75-year-old's been taken off a ventilator and is on the road to recovery. 24-year-old Hadi Mattar has pleaded not guilty to attempted murder and assault. More than 20,000 people have crossed the English Channel in small boats so far this year. Government figures show 607 crossings were made yesterday, the third time the daily numbers exceeded 600 this year. In 2021, a total of more than 28,000 crossings were reported. At least 41 people have been killed and dozens injured after a fire broke out inside a church near Egypt's capital, Cairo. There are fears many of those killed were children. It's understood the blaze blocked an entrance to the church in the city of Giza, causing a stampede as 5,000 people gathered there for Mass. A teenage boy has died after going into the sea at Skegness yesterday. Lincolnshire police have said they received 10 calls within 2 hours to report missing people on the coast. Temperatures will remain high across parts of the UK today, reaching up to 32 degrees as the UK heatwave continues. It comes ahead of 3 days of yellow weather warnings for thunderstorms. On TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News. We'll get back to Dawn in just a moment.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello, welcome back. You're with Dawn Neeson, covering for Nana today on GB News and on digital radio. Now, back to this hour's great British debate. I'm asking, is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? According to a survey conducted by Savanta Comres, over 40% of people claim that the Tory members' ballot is an undemocratic way to elect a Prime Minister. Currently, the decision is in the hands of 160,000 registered Tory members, which roughly equates to less than 0.4% of the electorate. A majority of Brits would argue that this system is fundamentally flawed, while others claim a party has the mandate from 2019 election. We all voted Conservative, didn't we? Well, not all of us, but they got the majority. Pretty big win as well. So for this hour's great British debate, I'm asking, is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? So let's see what my panel make of this one. One's actually got a dog in this particular race. I'm conserved by Conservative Councillor Claire Pearsall and broadcaster Danny Kelly. Right, Claire, I'm going to come to you first, obviously, because, you know, the clue's in the Conservative Council bit.
Yes.
You are actually a member. You're actually one of that 0.4% that have a vote.
I do.
Yes.
My ballot paper is sitting on my kitchen counter as we speak, not completely.
You've left it at home with a husband?
Yes, but he can't do anything with it.
We can put a cross in the wrong box, can't he? He's the other side, isn't he, to you?
He doesn't want to try that trick. He really doesn't. But yeah, is it undemocratic? No, is my short answer on that. The person we are voting on is for the leader of the Conservative Party, who then also happens to become the Prime Minister. So is it undemocratic? No, we have a vote. It is a member of my party that I am voting for. What I do find very, very difficult, and I think Benedict Spence alluded to this, is the selection process of candidates.
How did we end up with these two?
Well, that's
I know how we did, but I mean, how did we?
And when you talk to the membership, they aren't very happy that it was whittled down to those particular two. Everybody had a person that they preferred, and I think that perhaps if you had 5 candidates, 6 candidates, put that out to the membership.
Yes.
That would work.
Why does it go down to
better.
2? What is that process?
I think that's just decided as that's the fairest
That's how
way
it
to
works.
do it. And that is the way it works. And each party has, it's not just the Conservatives. Labour also have a similar system.
Yes, yeah.
And they've put, Gordon Brown, who was also unelected, became Prime Minister, but it was the leader of their party.
Yeah.
They have that right to do so, and the same as us. And the Lib Dems have a process I'm quite sure I wouldn't know what it was, but they do have one. So, no, I don't think it's undemocratic. I think it's a shame that we don't have a bigger pool of people to choose from. But what I find also quite difficult is this long campaign.
Oh, how many weeks?
Every day. I mean, it's, I don't know, 6 weeks, I think.
I think it's there's 12 hustings.
Yeah, and it's...
As well. I've never thought I'd say the word hustings quite as much as I have over the past few days.
Well, every day you're sort of looking at social media or you're looking at the newspaper and there it is, there's another one and another comment. And we seem to be going around the same sort of flock.
They're saying the same things.
They do. There's nothing new to say.
No. That's the problem. Danny, I mean...
So the question is it democratic? I would turn it round and say, well, what is the alternative? Now, plenty of people who hate the Conservatives would say, well, Boris Johnson is gone. A lot of people voted for that party because of Boris Johnson. I agreed with Benedict, except for one point, when he said that if you vote for the person, then you are the problem. I think he's underestimating vast swathes of Northern England who voted for Boris Johnson. I remember Boris Johnson when he was pleading with all the Northern Red Wall. He goes, whilst your hand is trembling over the box to tick, I'm paraphrasing, on the ballot paper, And he's such a personal guy who can connect with people. So Benedict, his opinion that you should vote for the party is a valid opinion, but that's just an opinion. There are plenty of people, hundreds of thousands of people, who voted Conservative because of Boris Johnson. And I don't think that's a problem with them particularly. So I think we need to understand how people, how people's minds tick.
Of course. We react on an emotional level whether we like it or not. Of course. You do react to each candidate on that personal level. And I do think you're right. I think Boris Johnson literally could, eat babies live on air and he would still have people liking him.
Yeah. The democracy, though, I agree with Claire. It is democratic. Whether people like the fact that it represents 0.4% of the population or not, that's how we vote in a leader of a party. It's just a coincidence that they're also the party in power. There is no alternative other than a general election. And the critics would say that people voted for Boris Johnson as a person, which again reminds me of my earlier point about Benedict's.
And I agree with that. And I do think that people vote on personality. And there will be a lot of people who decided Boris Johnson was the right person. And that is fine, and that is up to them to do so. So and I do agree with you. It was Benedict's opinion that they're the problem. I don't think so. I think anybody that gets involved in politics votes for a reason, and it doesn't matter necessarily what that reason is. I want more people to come out and vote because I think that the turnout is so low in this country for many, many reasons. I would like to see more people connect. Boris Johnson has done that. I'm not the first person to congratulate him on any subject, but he has done that. He has made people interested in politics, which we cannot put to one side.
No, that's absolutely true. I agree on that one. Interestingly, one of the reasons that people are saying it's undemocratic in particular is that the 160,000 members, of which are one, Claire, who can vote, nearly 66% of them are white, and 54% of them live in London and the South East. So it's not representing... sorry, I apologise for both of those things now, instantly, young lady. But it's not really representing the vast swathe of the public, is it?
It's not, but it is representative of the people who would want to join the Conservative Party. And there are a lot of people who don't want to join any political party. Doesn't mean they don't have an opinion. But I think that joining a political party is a decision that you make and you stick with, like supporting a football team. It's very difficult for some people
to change my mind on that one. Thanks, West Ham.
But it's very difficult for some people to want to advertise that. You can get a lot of abuse for doing it. I've had abuse for my beliefs and the fact that I'm quite outspoken as a Conservative councillor. People don't want that necessarily. They don't want people to know how they vote because they fear the repercussions of doing so.
That's a good point, isn't it? Because it has become so divisive. I mean, politics have always been divisive, of course, by their very nature, but it's become so divisive in this country now that you do, it's like discussing how you vote, especially if you vote Conservative at the moment. Labour are still pretty cool, aren't they, despite, the Keir's best efforts not to have an opinion on anything. It's like people are frightened to say they vote Conservative. Because the implication is almost that you're racist in some way.
There are three things I believe. No one knows how I vote except my wife. And there are three things that I believe you should keep to yourself. One is your politics. People think I voted Brexit, but they don't know I voted Brexit. That's what people think. And I'll leave them to that opinion. One is politics. The other is your salary. I think that's deeply personal. And also, believe it or not, I think if you give money to charity, you shouldn't say which charity you give it to. And I'll put that in context. If you're walking past an army veteran who's 95 years old, shaking a tin outside Sainsbury's in November for a red poppy, and you say, no, mate, I give my charity to the Cat's Home or something, then all of a sudden that becomes a dispute and political. I'm not on social media, Dawn, for the very reason that it's so hostile out there. And it's Twitter I believe if the world would be a better place without Twitter. I really do. And the hostility, I've never known anything like that. I come from Liverpool, where Tories are despised.
Well, they
are loathed and hated.
Just because they're Tories, a bit like reading the Sun in Liverpool. But I mean, so what? The question here is it undemocratic the way we are choosing, not we, but you, Claire, all your fault, are choosing the next Prime Minister of this country? So, but if this is deemed to be undemocratic, what would be a democratic way of doing it?
Well, as I say, I don't think it is undemocratic, and Danny's right. What other way do we have? We aren't a presidential system. We aren't a dictatorship, despite what some people will have you believe. So what way do you vote? I think this is kind of the best of the worlds that we have.
Yes.
And is better than a lot of other countries. And we've never really had this kind of scrutiny previously, and I do think that social media has a lot to play in this.
Yes.
Because whenever we've chosen a leader previously, it's tended to be before sort of social media has been to the fore. And also, I think that after the Brexit debate, doesn't matter where you voted, political discourse has become more toxic. So I think that any conversation about politics at all immediately starts, you know, the hackles rising on pretty much every...
We seem to have lost the art of debate, a democratic debate, to use that word, where it just becomes hate straight away, doesn't it?
It does, and I think perhaps we should pull away from polling. I mean, who are they polling to say that this is undemocratic? Is it Tory members? Is it people that voted Tory? Is it just the general public? I mean, it doesn't sort of give you much of a basis to go on either.
And the article was in the laughingly titled Independent,
yes.
You know, who are just so anti-conservative.
Of course.
You don't know what the question was, how it was loaded.
Oh, well,
and that's
quite,
the
there
point.
is with
and
that.
That's the point. And it was, you know, 40% of how many?
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, it does happen on both parties. I mean, James Callaghan, obviously Labour, Gordon Brown, Labour, and Sir Alec Douglas-Home. You have to go back to the 60s. He was elected, chosen in this way as well. But let's see what you've got to say out there. This show is nothing without you and your views. So let's welcome one of our great British voices. This is your opportunity to be on the show and tell us what you really think about the topics we're discussing. This hour, we're heading down to Cornwall, which has been talking about your lovely county, to speak to Jonathan Jones. Hello, Jonathan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dawn. Hello.
Hi. Oh, God, that looks lovely where you are. Yeah. Oh, can we be down there, please? Whereabouts in Cornwall are you?
A place called Tregoston. It's Europe's largest tea garden, actually, and we grow tea, the very tea that Danny would have been drinking on his holiday down here. We actually grow right here, and this is the iced version of it for this super hot summer. So,
wow.
Yeah, I think you're all welcome. And next summer, Cornwall's the coolest place to be, as well as literally the hottest place to be. It's not necessarily the cheapest, but you know it's the best place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, Tony, I'm asking, what is the democratic way to choose the next leader if we're not doing it right now?
Well, strictly speaking, it is democratic, as we've just heard. But I suppose, does it pass the tea test, if you like? If you were to sit down with a bunch of farmers, like Jeremy Clarkson, for example, or any other great British farmer, and say, is this really fair? Is this the best way of doing it? They're likely to say, Love Island's got more democracy than this great British island at the moment in terms of selecting the leader. And I think the system's not broken, but it could probably be improved a bit. And, you know, it's great spectator sport. And I think, you know, people are enjoying talking about it. And as we're doing it now and complaining about how few people have actually got access to the vote. But I suppose it could be opened up a bit more. Could there be a people's vote? I think Boris has done a great job in, you know, bringing the G7 to Cornwall, and he's made actually the Conservative Party quite cool. And there's a lot of older Conservatives who are not cool. So I guess, you know, he's done a great job of reconnecting a lot of people that wouldn't vote normally at all. They're talking about it. So I think it's a shame that that's no longer the case. But we haven't seen the back of Boris, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. And that was the point Claire was making earlier on, wasn't it? I mean, people are becoming more actively involved in politics now. We are talking about it, some would say endlessly. I mean, obviously, the other alternative to this one, Jonathan, is to have a general election. I mean, how do you feel should, you know, they say, right, OK, let's have a general election?
Firstly, everyone will think of that lady in Bristol, only 200 miles east of here, saying, not again.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly...
Everyone should get together over a cup of tea, iced tea at this time of year, and just, you know, if it's not British, we don't need elections every 3 years. 5 years is perfect. I think we should actually enjoy this process. I've got a feeling Liz Truss will do a good job, actually. OK, well, a nice cup of tea and a nice Cornish cream tea. And I'm not going to even start the debate about the cream and the jam and everything. So thank you so much for joining us today. That's great to talk to you. And good luck with the tea. Right, is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? Lots of you have been getting in touch with your views on this one. Some we can even read out loud. Right, Kevin, the public should get a say in the matter. They too are affected by all these decisions. Well, we could say we did vote on it, didn't we? Matt, it's not a race, it's an excuse for Boris to go on holiday.
Some would say that's probably not a bad thing. He's been on holiday for the last 2 years, but, you know, just playing devil's advocate here. Meanwhile, Roger, you say the simple answer is no. The new Conservative Party leader will be elected the same way that Ed Miliband, Jeremy Corbyn and Keir Starmer were elected as Labour leaders. Fair point, actually, of course. And meanwhile, Darcy says, I think if you lose your leader, a general election should be called. But Labour, Lib Dem, Green and UKIP supporters, UKIP still a thing even, shouldn't be voting for a Conservative leader. OK, you're going to end up with a hung parliament if we have an election, though, aren't you? That's the worry here. Daryl, you say, and no, this is not an undemocratic process, but Sunak, who is polling badly, should stand down now. Get it over and done with. The country should let Liz Truss get on with the job. There's also a poll up on Twitter on this right now, throughout the show, asking, is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? Interesting results so far. Currently, 41% say yes, it is undemocratic, and 59% say no. So it's fairly even Stevens at the moment. So interested to see what you say. Get your votes in now. Right, I'm Dawn Neeson. I'm covering for Nana today on GB News, on TV and digital radio. After the break, it's Worldview. Salman Rushdie has been taken off his ventilator, thank God, and was able to talk yesterday. The US President Joe Biden held the writer's amazing courage and strength. I mean, he's 75. First, it's a short break.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. I'm Dawn Neeson. I'm covering for Nana today on GB News, on TV and on digital radio. Now it's time for Worldview, and today we are crossing over to America. Salman Rushdie, the novelist most well known for the Sonic verses, was stabbed at a lecture earlier this week, but is being treated and is able to speak. He was on a ventilator initially, but now he's off the ventilator. Thank God for that. I'm joined by the host of the Politics People podcast, and that's Paul Dudridge, whose name I constantly get right. Hopefully I got it right this time, Paul.
That's close enough. I'll change it. Whatever you say is what I go with.
Fine. Yeah. I'm just going to call you Paul from here on in, right? I can pronounce that. Paul, welcome again. Good to talk to you again. So what is the update on Salman? It sounds like it is actually relatively good news.
It is, yeah. His agent has released a statement today saying that the condition is still severe. He's still in a severe condition, but we're heading in the right direction now. And as you've just said, he's talking again. This was the fear the other day, the first news of the injuries, because we actually talked, I think, just after the tragic attack took place. the immediate fear was, apart from losing his life, that he wouldn't be able to speak. And so now that's been confirmed, he is speaking and he's off the ventilator. So I think all signs point to him making a recovery. I can't say a full recovery because I believe he is in danger of losing an eye, which is just so grotesque. But at least he will live, and that's really where the news is at the moment. And that's according to his agent, about an hour ago, released that statement.
It's quite amazing, isn't it? Because he's 75, I think, which, you know, considering, I mean, he's stabbed 15 times in this horrific attack. So, you know, the strength of him to survive and to be making jokes, evidently, we hear, in his hospital bed.
Yes, I mean, look, he's carried this. If you think he has been living under some kind of oppressive, almost house arrest since 1989, when this fatwa was first pronounced, he has worn it extremely lightly, I think, and he's continuing with that. I mean, I think lesser mortals would have been very bitter and very humorless about this, but he's always worn this, from where I don't know the man at all, but he's always worn this very lightly and has taken it in his stride. But it is, for me, the wider issue is how tolerant we are of this intolerance towards him. I think it's remarkable that we've sort of just accepted that apparently he just has to live in this hideous way just because he wrote a book. I think it's terrible the way that. One of the things that's disappointed me over the years, if we can expand on it, was how many Western commentators and politicians have kind of shrugged that he sort of brought it on himself somehow, as opposed to standing up vehemently for free speech. They've actually kind of just thought that he was the cause of his own demise or his own problem, and I just think that he's been treated really shabbily, I think, by Western commentators. I think so many of us now are seeing the repercussions of accepting intolerance as a method of political activism.
It's a very good point, and just sort of finally, while we're still talking about Salman, obviously the reaction here in the UK has been shock and horror that this has happened, and the reaction in America, I'm assuming, has been pretty much the same. Meanwhile, in some parts of the world, in particular Iran, the media are actually celebrating this as a good thing. I mean, what's your feeling about how some people are actually celebrating what's happened to Salman?
Well, this is it. I'm not surprised they are. In fact, Iran has gone so far today as to actually extend the fatwa now incorporate, we have to mention Trump every week by law. They've now extended this fatwa to Donald Trump. We are dealing with governments that will actively put death sentences on our citizens. You know, he is actually a UK-US citizen, I believe. And the fact that we will deal with them and are looking to deal with them and are looking to improve relations with countries like Iran shocks me. I just think that this kind of behavior has to exclude countries from any kind of normal relationships. These things have to, these fatwas, so-called, we cannot be dealing with countries that issue death threats against private citizens for not breaking the law. I find it remarkable.
Obviously, Paul, and a quick word, if you could, on Anne Heche, the actress who has sadly died. Could you give us an update on what's happened with that story?
Yes, well, the most recent update is that the Los Angeles police have closed any investigation now over the car crash. They are treating it purely as an accident, so all investigations now closed. Actually, Anne Heche has been declared brain dead. She's still actually on a ventilator because the family, she was a very strong advocate for organ donation. So she's being kept, her body is being kept on a ventilator, but according to California law, the fact that she's now been declared brain dead is declared dead, basically. So the body is being kept alive for organ donation. And that's where and she's a 53-year-old, no age at all, frankly, and a very talented actress. But yes, it's all ended in such a horrible, again, just a graphic, horrible week in American news. It's so strange, these things. I think we've discussed this before. These things echo each other. It's so awful. But yes, police have closed the investigation. The householder who, I'm not trying to be flippant, but the householder has her house was actually set on fire by this car accident, causing $150,000 worth of damage. A GoFundMe campaign has actually been called and has reimbursed her, so she's not even out of pocket. Nobody else was injured in it. This is the only silver lining in this whole horrific, tragic story.
Yeah. It could have been so much worse, couldn't it? Paul, thank you so much for that. I said not happy stories, and hopefully next time we talk to you, we'll have something more joyous to talk about. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Right, I'm Dawn Neeson on GB News. More to come in the next hour. You're with Dawn Neeson, covering for Nana today on GB News, on TV and on digital radio. For the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines now. But first, let's get the latest news headlines with Bethany.
Dawn, thank you. Good evening. It's 5:01. I am Bethany Elsey, here to bring you up to date from the GB newsroom. So Salman Rushdie's son says his father suffered severe and life-changing injuries after he was stabbed on Friday in New York. But Zafar Rushdie added that his usual feisty and defiant sense of humour remains intact. Earlier, the author's agent said the 75-year-old's been taken off a ventilator and is on the road to recovery. The man accused of attacking him at the literary festival on Friday, 24-year-old Hadi Mattar, has pleaded not guilty to attempted murder and assault. Police are investigating a threat made on Twitter to Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. Miss Rowling expressed her concern following the stabbing of Sir Salman and received a message saying, "Don't worry, you're next." A spokesperson for Police Scotland says they're carrying out inquiries. The tweet has since been taken down. Labour is expected to call for the energy price cap to be frozen at just under £2,000 this autumn as households struggle with the soaring cost of living. In an open letter, 70 charities are urging the Tory leadership candidates Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak to more than double the support for low-income households. The letter warns that families on benefits face a £1,600 shortfall over the coming months, despite already receiving £1,200 from government. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak says he plans to make Britain energy secure, including boosting North Sea gas production. The former Chancellor says he'd legislate to make the UK's energy independent by 2045, as he vows to ensure there's no repeat of the looming winter crisis. Well, Business and Energy Minister Greg Hands told GB News a long-term plan is essential.
But that's also why Rishi Sunak has laid out a comprehensive plan for energy security going forward, making sure we're energy independent within a generation. That takes a long time to make changes on energy. It takes a long time to commission nuclear power plants. It already takes 10 years or more to build an offshore wind farm. So you need to have a long-term plan as well. Rishi Sunak has got that in place.
Well, Tory MP Ranil Jayawardeneh, who's supporting Liz Truss in the leadership race, claims there's been scaremongering around energy prices. He also says the Foreign Secretary plans on creating an emergency budget if she wins.
The energy prices are projected at this moment in time. We will know soon, but we don't have the actual figure just yet. So that's a really important point for people. And I do regret that there has been scaremongering from some quarters on this. Second, I do believe that the pause on the energy levy is a really important immediate relief for families with their energy bills, alongside the cut in NI that will help people. But if elected Prime Minister, Liz has also said that she will hold an emergency budget to see what more can be done at that time.
More than 20,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel in small boats so far this year. Government figures show 607 crossings were made yesterday. It's the third time the daily numbers exceeded 600 since the start of this year. In 2021, a total of more than 28,000 crossings were reported. At least 41 people have been killed and 45 injured after a fire broke out inside a church near Egypt's capital, Cairo. There are fears many of those killed were children. It's understood the electrical fire blocked an entrance to the church in the city of Giza, causing a stampede as 5,000 people gathered there for Mass. Over 1,500 people have been urged to evacuate their homes in Spain as large wildfires sweep through the country. Around 300 firefighters have been sent to the northeast regions to help battle the flames. Extreme hot weather has already caused several wildfires to ravage parts of Europe. And back here, a teenage boy has died after going into the sea at Skegness yesterday. Lincolnshire police have said they received 10 calls within 2 hours reporting people missing on the coast. That as the heatwave continues today, with temperatures reaching up to 32 degrees across parts of the UK. It comes ahead of 3 days of yellow weather warnings for thunderstorms. The Met Office says there's a high risk of flash flooding and power cuts. This is GB News. We'll bring you more news as it happens now. Let's get back to Dawn.
Hello, welcome back. This is GB News. I'm Dawn Neeson, covering for Nana today. And for the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion, though. Mine, theirs, but most importantly, yours. You're the important people in this. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times disagreeing nicely. But still to come. In just a moment, it's Outside, where I'm joined by a celebrity, a former MP, or someone who has had an extremely interesting career to look at. Life after the job. Today, I'll be joined by impressionist and Britain's Got Talent finalist Francine Lewis. We'll talk about the highs and the lows, the lessons learned, and what comes next on the outside. And for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, why is the UK so rubbish at coping with the weather? Come on, we are, aren't we? From heat waves to thunderstorms, Britain sees it all. But how does our infrastructure hold up when pushed to its limits, though? Extreme heat, flash floods, etc. A leaf on the line even, you know? On Friday, the Met Office issued a yellow storm warning for a large part of the UK and alerted the public about the potential flooding in homes and businesses. Email gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet us at gbnews. Now, it's time for Outside, and today I'm thrilled to be speaking to actor, impressionist and presenter Francine Lewis, an old friend of mine actually, which is lovely. Francine, welcome to the show. So lovely to see you again, so lovely to have you on, and looking so gorgeous as well, as always, indeed. So, I mean, I haven't seen you for a long time. Francine, what have you been up to?
Well, since the days where we were in contact, I feel like I've done so much. It's like,
I'm sure you have.
They were amazing days, by the way, and it's thanks to you, so many great stories and pictures in the Daily Star, which is always great when you're...
It's impossible to take a bad picture of you, come on.
So, yeah, I mean, I've done so much since, obviously. I've been very lucky. I feel like the comeback queen, really, because, you know, I had a great career at the end of the 90s. Then I did have time to have my children, which I really wanted to be a full-time mum. That was my choice. And then coming back with a bang, really, with Britain's Got Talent, propelled me into a great career after that.
So Britain's Got Talent was 2013. It doesn't actually seem that long ago, really, to be honest with you. And you won by doing impressions, if I remember rightly, Stacey Solomon, Amy Childs, Kate Price.
My God. I can't believe it, but it's true.
Holly Willoughby.
I know. I just love you, Dawn, and it's so wonderful to have you on this morning. It's so exciting. My voice is starting to go.
You're so brilliant. I love the way she burst into giggles at the drop of a hat. And have you noticed how her hair's growing very, very fast? You know, about 4 inches in the sun. I mean, who'd have thought it's extensions? Anyway, so, I mean, you found fame, or you were sort of famous before, but you found fame again, sort of like the comeback thing, in 2010 on Britain's Got Talent. Now, there's a lot of fuss about reality shows and talent shows at the moment, maybe treating contestants not as well as they should as far as mental health are concerned. I mean, what's your views on things like Love Island now and some of the talent shows where they can be quite mean to contestants?
Yes, I think, see, I did a talent show back in the late 90s called The Big Wig Talent Show, which Jonathan Ross presented.
Yes, I remember.
It brought out, I mean, Stephen Mulhern came from there, Charlotte Church. It launched a great career for myself. And that time, there wasn't judges. When I did it, there was no judges. I did the first one. And it was lovely. You just went out, you did your thing. And, you know, it was the audience that voted and kept you in, but obviously we didn't have Twitter then, and we didn't have social media, so you didn't come off the TV, because obviously it was a live show, and I have to read like these horrific things, or I mean, I say that, but I have been really fortunate, Dawn, because to be honest, most of the time I will open my DMs on my Instagram and there's some amazing messages I get. So, you know, you do have to take the bad with the good as well. Do you know what I mean? The good with the bad, whatever it's called. But I do feel nowadays being judged, I mean, that's what put me off going on Britain's Got Talent, because I really didn't want to do it because of that. I was a massive fan of Simon Cowell. I thought if he hates me, that'd just be the most awful thing.
I'm sure he wouldn't, by the way.
But no, he was one, all the judges were, and yeah, being judged is really quite harsh. I was very fortunate. I got great comments. You know, it worked well for me. But shows like Love Island, which I'm a massive fan of.
And I was looking at your Twitter feed before you came on. You are really a big fan of Love Island, aren't you?
I really am. And it's great. Every year I get to do all these new impersonations, you know, and it's fantastic. But I do think it is worrying how, you know, some of these Love Island, I mean, recently Jax has come out and he's had some terrible hate. And I think that's really unfortunate and uncalled for, really uncalled for. It's a show, you know, it's an entertainment show. And he was just doing what a young guy does, you know, when he's on a show like that. So, yeah, I think it's not very...
As you say, the social media has made a huge difference, isn't it? And you can't avoid it. I mean, people can put whatever they want on social media anonymously, so it gives them carte blanche to be as vile as they actually like. So, I mean, you've got 2 children, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. How would you feel about them going on something like Love Island now?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because my daughter has said to me before, oh, Mum, I want to go on there, I want to go on there. But
How old is she now, Francine?
She's now 20.
Oh, my God.
I know. I was 14.
She was about 12, wasn't she, at one point?
Yeah, exactly. Very young, Mum. No, yeah, she's 20, and she does say to me, oh, you know, I'd like to thankfully she's got a boyfriend at the moment, so that's not okay. But I wouldn't actually like it.
No.
Because I know what my daughter's like, and she's very critical about herself, which is really sad, really, because I look at myself at her age, and I was confident. You know, I don't think I would have done the things I did if I was like worried about this and my body. And I was proud of my body, and I
with good reason, by the way.
You know, and it really
you can't see below the desk here, by the way. She's got the most gorgeous legs, tan, lovely, and a very short skirt.
Thank you. Yeah, always got a short skirt. Age is not going to ever stop from wearing.
Why should it? Age is no barrier to anything.
But I do feel that it would be a nightmare for her, because if she read comments and things like that, it just it would be very.
It would destroy
her. Mentally it would destroy her. So no, I wouldn't want my children to go on a show like that.
What about one of the talent shows, like, you know, like Britain's Got Talent, or?
Yeah, I would actually. Brooke's an amazing singer, Jake's really funny, and if she said to me, Mum, I want to go on a show like that, I would encourage it 100%. I mean, it was the most amazing thing I could have done.
Yeah.
You know, I've been so fortunate. I've loved every second. I mean, look, I don't take myself too seriously, and I enjoy every minute, and you know, I'm just so thankful. I've been very, very lucky. I've had the most amazing career. I've done such exciting things. I mean, Night Fever. Do you remember Night Fever, Channel 5?
I do, gosh,
I was team captain on that with Amanda Holden, Davina McCall, Claudia Winkleman. Then I was on the Generation Game, which was amazing for me. I had my own show on Capital Radio. I mean, I've done so many exciting things.
Do you miss it now, doing the very high profile? I mean, I know you're very successful in other areas at the moment, but do you miss the very high profile shows? Do you miss that, you know, walking down the street and people I'm sure they recognise you in any case, but instantly recognising you and saying, oh, I saw what you did last night, I love that. Is it difficult to adapt to life after a very high profile, like a weekend show?
I mean, obviously, when I did Britain's Got Talent, I didn't ever expect... I remember just after the first audition was shown, I was literally mobbed everywhere I went. It was crazy. And I remember going to America only 3 years ago, and the guy, you know, I turned up at my hotel and he went, oh, my God, Francine Lewis. And I was like, and you forget people are watching you around the world.
Yes.
So, and I do a lot of Americans. Obviously, recently it's been Kylie Jenner's 25th birthday. That's so nice. I've been in the Bahamas with my sisters and Stormy, and I love it. So it's so cool. And you know, it's just amazing when people around the world recognise you because you're on such a big, high-profile show. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, obviously, that dwindles down, but I'm quite fortunate that I sort of pop up in shows like this and, you know, other shows, so it keeps me going. But I am going to be doing a show. I can't talk about it at the moment.
Oh, no, you can't say that.
It's going to be on ITV2, and it's going to be a brand new show.
Excellent.
And I'm really excited about that.
Get a bit of a hint.
It involves impressions.
Right, you'll be using your full talent.
So that's going to be quite exciting.
Excellent. Have you mastered any of the politicians at the moment?
Well, I'm going to be working on
Angela Rayner?
I should work on it. At the moment, I'm very reality. Do you know what I mean? I love doing like the GC, 40 years old. Do you know what I mean? 41 at the moment. But yeah, I just love it. And Dawn, you're looking gorgeous in yellow. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I'm not sure she would say that about me, but there you go. So, I mean, basically, would you, if one of the big entertainment shows came knocking now, like, say, like a Strictly Come Dancing or Jungle, would you consider going into one of those now?
Oh, of course, who wouldn't? I mean, I would love Strictly Come Dancing because I really can't dance, and I think that would be a great
challenge. A lot of people can't who go on there, by the way.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that can, and I don't think that's fair. I think you should be somebody who can, you know, who's completely useless and cannot move like myself. I think that would be really good. The Jungle, I would love to say, because it's one of the biggest entertainment shows, I'd love to say I would could do it, but I know I couldn't because I'm a real princess. I don't even want to glamp, let alone camp.
Would you survive without the makeup and the hair and looking gorgeous like you do?
Do you know what, Dawn? It's really weird because I don't always have makeup. I do just, as long as I've got some lashes, I'm fine. So I just put a few false eyelashes on, and yeah, I'd be fine. So, but yeah, I'd love to say I could do it, but I probably couldn't. Do you know what? I did the Jungle, and if I can do it, anyone can bloody do it. Do you know what I mean, Dawn?
Oh, this is so brilliant. So, I mean, the last time you were, or one of the recent times you were on this show, on GB News in particular, you caused a bit of a stir. You mentioned that you'd actually fallen victim to a scam.
Yes.
And lost quite a bit of money.
Yes.
Is there an update on that? What's happening with that?
It was very, very unfortunate. I mean, it happened in 2018, but I was fronting a campaign at the time to stop fraud campaign, and yeah, it was just so sad that, you know, all my earnings from Britain's Got Talent, I did put a lot of it into a cosmetic business as well, so I've got my own cosmetic bit, but the other half that I'd saved for, it's just literally gone, and it was like, you know, well, our family money, so...
That was like £90,000, wasn't it?
Yeah. Jeez. Between me, my husband, my father-in-law, yeah. It was astonishing, and it happens so... Because you feel so stupid.
Yes.
But it happens so much, and you just don't realise it, so...
Yeah, and did that have a big impact on how you were living your life? And
yes, it did. It really did. It was tough at home for a while, but you know what? You just have to look at it as, you know, I'm just going to go out there, I'm going to work harder, and just start all over again. As long as you're healthy, I think that's the main thing. There's so many people, you know, I know that are ill, terminally ill, and it's just not worth worrying about.
No,
all the stress can cause these things. So I think you just need to be happy.
I think you're right, and you've always, ever since I've known you, Francie, you've always done that. And I think you've moved on to doing books now as well,
which is... So I'd love to talk about my new book. It's I Play, and for years I was always, my favourite time was sitting with the kids and reading them a bedtime story. Unfortunately, I don't do that anymore.
Well, she's 20 now, about to go on Love Island by the sound of it, so...
But, so this is called I Play, and it's a lovely story about two twins called Jimmy and Jamie, and they've got sister Flip-Flop, and it shows you on their birthday they get a smartphone and an iPad, and it shows you how the dynamics in their household changes because they have no playtime anymore, and it's all about social media and what it does. It's very educational.
Yes.
It's on Amazon. Please check it out. I Play by Francine Lewis and Tim Stead, and I'm also doing cards.
Oh, well, why wouldn't you be? Oh, my God, that makes a noise. Oh, that's brilliant. So you voiced the cards for, like, that one's Gemma Collins, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Mary Berry.
Yeah.
There's
Do you design the cards as well? Do you draw the cards?
I don't design them. They've got a great illustrator. But, yeah, I voice all these cards and, again, on Amazon and Love Kate. So, yes, I do all sorts of weird... Oh, I love it, Dawn. I remember you and I used to do the Why are you laughing?
Oh, we have to move on now. Thank you so much for coming in. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, so you can't do an impression of me. Do not go there. Right, so thank you so much for joining me, Francine. It's been brilliant to see you again, and good luck with the books. And now we have to move on, unfortunately, and we are now going to... Coming up, it's the Great British Debate still this hour. I'm asking, why is the UK so rubbish at coping with the weather? From heat waves to thunderstorms, Britain sees it all. But how does our infrastructure hold up when pushed to its limits through a leaf on the line? Extreme heat and flash floods, you know what I mean. On Friday, the Met Office issued a yellow storm warning for large parts of the UK and alerted the public about the potential flooding in homes and businesses. Hold on a minute, isn't it a heat? Oh, okay. First, it's the weather forecast.
Looking ahead to this evening's weather, the UK is looking rather warm across England and Wales. Further north, heavy rain and thunderstorms will move across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Here's a closer look. A dry end to the day across southwest England with some late warm sunshine. There could be the odd shower, but most places will stay dry. A warm and dry evening's expected in the southeast with some hazy sunshine to end the day. Temperatures will linger in the mid-20s. Most parts of Wales will stay dry this evening with some sunny spells. However, there could be the odd shower later in the day. It'll be a balmy evening across the Midlands with some warm, hazy sunshine. After a hot day, temperatures will stay in the mid-20s throughout the evening. Plenty of sunny spells to end the day across northern England, and it'll feel rather warm. Skies will be a little cloudier along the northeast coast. Thundery showers will continue across Scotland this evening, bringing heavy downpours of rain. Showers will be hit and miss with some drier spells in between. It should be mostly dry and a mostly dry end to the day across Northern Ireland with some bright spells. However, the odd heavy shower is possible. Thunderstorms will continue in the north overnight, staying largely dry and warm elsewhere with a few showers moving into the west after midnight. And that's how the weather's shaping up overnight into tomorrow morning.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Dawn Neeson. I'm covering for Nana today on GB News, on TV and on digital radio. OK, it's time for our Great British Debate this hour. I'm asking, why is the UK so rubbish at the weather? We are, aren't we? From heat waves to thunderstorms, we see it all. But how does our infrastructure hold up when it's pushed to its limits? Well, not when it's pushed to its limits, though. Through extreme heat and flash floods. Many areas across the country are facing a hosepipe ban while supermarkets are running dangerously low on bottled water. Stop bulk buying, people. There's no need to panic. The heatwave has definitely left its mark on the UK, though, hasn't it? On Friday, the Met Office issued yellow storm warnings for a large part of the UK and alerted the public about the potential flooding in homes and businesses. But don't get your hosepipes out. With every extraordinary weather event seeming to throw the UK into complete disarray, the great British debate this hour, I'm asking, why is the UK so rubbish at coping with the weather? Now, I'm actually thrilled to be joined by someone who actually knows what they're talking about, unlike we just talk about it and moan about it, don't we? I'm joined by senior meteorologist at British Weather Services, Jim Dowell. And Jim, there you are. Lovely. Now, you don't look like you're in the UK at the moment. You're not. You're somewhere very glamorous, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in Bangkok, actually. I've moved from Phuket, which was even nicer than Bangkok. But nonetheless, we get tropical weather here. I'm here for a couple of months, and I'm writing a book on the effects of climate change in terms of being safe in it and looking after yourself and all the rest of it. So that's my little job in between, enjoying myself.
Absolutely. It was a nice place to write a book, it has to be said. But, right, Jim, so let's cut to the chase here.
Yeah.
We love talking about the weather. We're British. It's tea and talking about the weather. That's what we do. But why are we so rubbish at coping with it as a country?
You're dead right. We are. And the reason for that is we, generally speaking, take it for granted. We really do. And now, if I say to you, Dawn, the weather is the greatest external impact on our lives as we go through our lives, bar anything else. It's number one, and yet we do take it for granted. And the reason we take it for granted is for give or take, depending on the year, and maybe this period that we're in now is an obvious an exception to this. But for 340 days of the year, we live in a temperate climate. It doesn't do a great. It doesn't make the news, if you like. We might talk about it at the bus stop or on the train or in the shop or whatever. But generally speaking, it's behaving itself. It's not doing the things that it's doing at this moment in time. So we're taking it for granted. We're kind of skipping past it. Although it's affecting us, and we're guided by it in terms of what we eat, what we buy, what we do with our spare time and all the rest of it, how it affects sports, for example. Most of the time, it's passing us by. For the 40-odd days a year where it does get a little bit tasty, a little bit extreme, or a lot extreme, then that's when we start to sit up and start to take notice. And that doesn't matter whether we're talking heat waves in the summertime, droughts, or, and as you know perfectly well, when we get a blizzard or a snow event in the UK, we tend to fall apart in exactly the same way.
But it doesn't even take much, does it, Jim? I mean, every year it's the same old thing, right? OK, we have a few hot days and it's like climate Armageddon, you're going to die in hellfire next week. Come the autumn, it's floods, obviously, and then a leaf falls on a railway line somewhere and the whole network goes down. A couple of snowflakes and we grind to a halt. We can't cope with that. It's just every year it's the same old, same old. Why do we never get it right?
Because the infrastructure isn't there. That's why. The psyche's not there either. Don't get me wrong, Don, we are getting better as a nation in terms of particular companies dealing with these sort of things. The transport companies, for example, they brought out new technology and what have you that does deal with a lot of these problems. But that's not the majority of us. And I think the majority of us come unstuck. We don't. It's a bit like, I tell you what, the thunderstorms are in Scotland and Northern Ireland at the moment, and they're going to work themselves way down south in the next couple of days. You know perfectly well. You can walk around London, and when those thunderstorms strike, there'll be people without max, without umbrellas, getting themselves soaked, jumping from door to door, simply because they haven't prepared. They've not looked at the weather forecast or even taken the notice of it, and therefore they're ill prepared. And when it gets really hazardous, when we get extreme weather, that's when we put ourselves in danger. And I don't necessarily mean everybody. I just mean a few here and there. They put themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time and they come a cropper. I don't underscore that one, but that's the way of it. And I don't want to underscore the dangers within the weather either, because when it does ramp up, then there are dangers, there are hazards that we have to be aware of. But they don't happen often enough, and that's the problem, Dawn. We go through life accepting the weather for what it is until it is in the backside.
I think the one question I'd really like to ask you, Jim, is that, you know, in my lifetime, which is it's going back quite a way now, I seem to have had weather warnings about a new ice age, global warming, the ozone layer, ice caps melting. I mean, we seem to get these warnings on a regular basis of climate Armageddon. It's a climate emergency. What is actually going on?
OK, I hear what you're saying, and I was around at probably the same time as you in terms of hearing about the ice age coming and all the rest of it. But look, climatologists and meteorologists have got better at their jobs. The models are getting better, the data's getting better, and it's pointing in one direction. There's only you know, so much you can do here, but all the data that the climatologists have got, and I don't just mean British data, I mean global data, and particularly from the Arctic and Antarctic, where things are really sort of dangerously going on in terms of the melt there. They point in one direction only. So your last sentence about global warming and climate change, that's the direction of travel. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to get an extreme summer every summer. It doesn't mean that people can't enjoy themselves in the heat. Some do. You know, I don't want to take that away from people who do enjoy it, but there are other people who don't.
Yeah. Sure.
But it's one direction. It's one direction, and it's only going to get worse from now on in terms of the repetition of that, and the not just the heat and the droughts, but also the fact that we're going to see that you put more energy into the air, it produces bigger storms, bigger thunderstorms, bigger hurricanes, bigger typhoons, bigger tornadoes, and weird and wonderful things that we're not yet used to. So watch that space as far as preparedness is concerned, because you ain't seen nothing yet.
Right, OK, Jim, thank you so much for joining us, and
You're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your stay out there and writing your book. Good luck. And let's hope, while we prepare, let's hope the government prepare as well, because that would be useful, wouldn't it? Start building some more reservoirs, etc., etc. So let's have a quick look at what you've all been saying out there. Right, Simon says, we've always complained about the weather. It gives us something to talk about. Well, as I said, that over a nice cup of tea. Jonathan, meanwhile, it's really a housing issue. Our homes are built to keep the heat in and are packed closely together. Few have or can afford decent air cons in their home. Tell me about it. You know, I told the story earlier on about how expensive it is at the moment. Jeffrey, meanwhile, says it's because the UK is not set up to deal with extremes. They just try to tough it out. Look at football. When it's hot in Spain, they play late in the evening, but here they carry on as normal. Very good point, actually. The World Cup's going to be interesting on that front, isn't it? Right, OK, so I'm Dawn Neeson still, and I'm still covering for Nana, and I'm on GBNews, TV and digital radio. Coming up, we'll continue our great British debate. I'm asking, why are we, the UK, so rubbish at coping with the weather? You'll hear the thoughts of my panel, Conservative councillor Claire Pearsall and broadcaster Danny Kelly. But first, here's the news headlines with Bethany.
Dawn, thank you. Good evening. It's 32 minutes past 5. I am Bethany Elsey in the GB newsroom. Sir Salman Rushdie's son says his father suffered severe and life-changing injuries after he was stabbed at an event in New York on Friday. Zafar Rushdie added that his usual feisty and defiant sense of humour remains intact. Earlier, the author's agent said the 75-year-old's been taken off a ventilator and is on the road to recovery. The man accused of attacking him, 24-year-old Hadi Mattar, has pleaded not guilty to attempted murder and assault. More than 20,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel in small boats so far this year. Government figures show 607 crossings were made just yesterday. The total number of migrants who made the journey last year was around 28,000. At least 41 people have been killed and dozens injured after a fire broke out inside a church near Egypt's capital, Cairo. There are fears many of those killed were children. It's understood the blaze blocked an entrance to the church in the city of Giza, causing a stampede as 5,000 people gathered there for Mass. And a teenage boy has died after going into the sea at Skegness yesterday. Lincolnshire police have said they received 10 calls within 2 hours to report missing people along the coast. That as the heatwave continues across the UK, temperatures could reach up to 32 degrees today. The Met Office has issued yellow weather warnings for thunderstorms over the next 3 days. On TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News. We'll get back to Dawn in just a moment.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Dawn Neeson. I'm covering for Nana today, and this is GB News on your TV and on digital radio. Now, it's time for our great British debate this hour. I'm asking, why is the UK so rubbish at coping with the weather? Many areas across the country are facing a hosepipe ban, while supermarkets are running out dangerously low of bottled water because we're buying too much of it, aren't we? Stop stockpiling. In any case, on Friday, the Met Office issued yellow storm warnings for a large part of the UK and alerted the public about the potential flooding in homes and businesses. So I'm asking, why is the UK so rubbish at coping with the weather? Right, let's see what my panel make of this one. I'm joined by Conservative councillor Claire Pearsall and broadcaster Danny Kelly. And we're going to talk about the weather, and we've all got a nice cup of tea in front of us, so let's have a nice chat about the weather. So, Danny, why are we rubbish? Why is it like a leaf on the line in autumn and all hell breaks loose?
Do you know, it's really weird. When I was broadcasting in Birmingham and we had a heavy dumping of snow, there were cars abandoned, literally abandoned. They were all actually, sorry to get my motoring hat on, but they were all rear-wheel drive German cars, because you can't use.
I'm blaming the Germans
in the snow, and people walked home. So the councils were saying that grit won't help the snow, and they're right. But what will help the snow are the actual what are they called, Claire? Snow ploughs. That's right, and they went missing. They went missing, and we knew that the snow was coming. We knew it was going to be a heavy dumping. And also, I noticed a couple of weeks ago, or last month with the other heat wave, that some of the trains, they had to reduce the speed because guess what? The actual steel rails got hot.
Who'd have thought it?
Now, do they have to cancel journeys in, like, Arizona on the train where it's constantly hotter? Or is it just British Steel?
To be fair, in their defence, they being the Met Office and the government, I'm assuming, they would say that because these are rare weather events. We have weather events now, don't we? Just don't have weather events. So we're not used to it like, you know, very hot countries are all the time or very cold countries are all the time. As you say, like Canada, they have the most amazing snowfalls and they just cope with it. Life continues. But we just seem rubbish at coping with stuff. I mean, you know, we've been warned about, you know, global warming for a long time now. And, you know, the population of the UK is going up. And we haven't built a new reservoir for 31 years. Why? What are they doing, Claire?
Well, I think it also comes down to local planning. So it's not necessarily the fault of a government, even though I think that they could push this one through a lot quicker. Yeah, but you do come down to local planning laws. So wherever you want to put it, you still got to go through the planning process in that county, in that district. And quite honestly, residents will say no. Nobody wants building anywhere near them. Now, I'd rather have a reservoir.
That can be quite nice.
If I'm perfectly honest with you. I don't see that that's going to cause me any antisocial behaviour and all the rest of it. But we're just not very good at being organised. And I think it was quite interesting what Jim said from down the line, that was... People aren't prepared. They go out without a coat. They go out without.
How many times does it happen, though? Does it? I mean, it's like you're wandering around in your shorts, and suddenly the heavens open.
This is it, and I just think that we are pretty bad at it. We are used to the weather just being sort of generally a bit grey, maybe a bit sunny, maybe a bit drizzly, but nothing else. Nothing extreme. We're not very good.
No, we're not.
And we have never had, I don't think, these sort of severe weather events one after the other. I think we've always had weather, and I think we just got on with it. But it does seem a little bit more severe than I
certainly wouldn't want to live next to a new reservoir in the West Midlands. You would have every tattooed, shirtless, Stella drinking, Staffordshire Bull Terrier owning thug diving in. I wouldn't want to live them. I am a NIMBY. I am a NIMBY.
You've seen me on holiday then, have you?
I am
right,
definitely a NIMBY.
That's the whole of the West Midlands.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we're just
a sweeping generalisation.
We don't mean it. West Midlands are actually very lovely.
Lovely people.
Yeah, they are very lovely. But reservoirs can be beautiful as well. It's just like, I mean, joking about the NIMBYism going on, it's like we need them. We've known we've needed them for a lot, like the nuclear power stations. We've known we've needed them for years. But nothing gets done.
No, it doesn't. And that, I think that's largely the problem, is that everyone goes, well, yeah, we need it, but it's going to take 10 years and several £1 million.
Yeah.
And 10 years seems like a very long time.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, I think it's been 30 years in the planning for a new reservoir, and everyone's sort of just pushed it, because then it's been very wet, and then we've had some flooding, and it hasn't really been apparent that we needed it. So it's got pushed down the line again.
Yeah, and the other thing is, there was someone who happens to live out in the Middle East, Dubai, I think it might have been, saying, well, we have desalination plants. I mean, all our fields are green still. Why don't you do that? You are an island.
Do you know what else local councils are rubbish at? Actual pothole repairs. Permanent pothole repairs.
You've got your motoring head on again here, haven't you?
Yeah, well, as a motorist who has to drive over... And I live in the West Midlands, and you're right, West Midlands is ace, and my family are all West Midlanders. But the potholes, they spring up during the winter because of the contraction with the heat, and then the rain, and then the salt on the roads, and all of this sort of stuff. And I bet you mentioned Canada. I don't know for sure, but I bet you they don't have pothole problems in Canada.
No.
And mentioning the forecast for the next couple of days, I think I can speak for the majority of the country, if not the panel. I'm really looking forward to the thunder and the lightning and the downpour. I really am. I don't know about you two ladies.
I'm actually not, but I'm one of the selfish ones that don't have a garden, so the hosepipe thing doesn't bother me, and I actually like the heat.
I don't think the thunderstorms are going to hit Kent. I think when you look at the map and the sort of Met Office warnings, there's a nice sort of chunk of the southeast Kent where I live. It's not going to get that. We desperately, desperately need something.
And on a serious side, obviously the farmers as well. Yeah. Obviously, with our farmers working and no food, we're all going to starve to death. But I mean, it is mad. I mean, going back to the desalination plant, I think we have one in this country, which is in East London, and it's been sitting there, and it's cost millions to build, and we haven't turned it on. We can't turn it on until next year.
Why is that?
Oh, well, but there was a tech issue, evidently. Don't you think you might have thought that through,
Try to figure that one out before you actually build it and install it and deal with the rest of it.
Or spend some of the millions you've made in profits actually getting it working rather than giving it to your shareholders while you're leaking billions of gallons of water every single day.
And we're talking like £700,000 bonuses for some water bosses, aren't we? Who are already... I can't remember the company or the woman's name, but I think she's on millions of pounds.
I think that was actually Thames already. I think it's Thames Water who are in charge of the desalination plant.
That's a coincidence. So she got a £750,000 bonus or something like that.
Yeah. So they had one job. Get water to your customers, get rid of the wastewaters from your customers, and if you spend all that money on a desalination plant, make sure it works.
Wow.
And I think
that's worth a bonus.
I mean, it's just where it's horribly wrong. The level of dividend being paid out it's just obscene. When we're on hosepipe bans, there are people whose villages are cut off in Sussex and Surrey at the moment. They don't have any water. And bottled water that supplied by the water company is not there.
Yeah, no, it's insane. But we are now, I mean, going back to the madness of how bad we are at coping, in a situation where you are going to have torrential rain in some parts of the country. We've got a hosepipe ban. So you can't go out and water your garden with your hose pipe, but you're standing there in torrential rain.
And also, the drains aren't going to cope with the flood,
No,
so it's all going to be flood.
It's the local council's fault again with the drains.
I can say that Seven Oaks District is particularly good
of
at
course.
keeping
You do have a horse in the race,
The local
though.
council.
Absolutely.
Yes. No potholes there, no doubt.
Ah, that's a county issue. That's not a
Oh, this is what we do very well, isn't it? We don't cope with the weather, and there's always someone else to blame. Of
course there is.
But we'll have a meeting about it.
Oh no, I feel that I do have to stick up for local councils. They do a tremendous job at keeping
back
things
from
going.
Cornwall, just briefly, on the M5, you go through various counties. You have some wonderful, quintessential English countryside, hills and small mountains. And it was like, if you've ever flown over, like, Spain, and you see everything is just parched and dead. And I was driving through brown hills, brown valleys, everything dead.
Yeah, but it will come back to life as soon as it rains, which it's going to do in the next couple of days.
Really?
Right, OK, well, this show is nothing without you and your views, so let's welcome one of our great British voices. This is your opportunity to be on the show and tell us what you really think about the topics we're discussing. This hour, we're heading over to Luton to speak with Graham Wall. Hello, Graham, you're there. Hello. Hi. Right, OK, well, we're talking about the weather. What would you like to say about the weather? Come on, we're British, let's talk about it.
Well, I think people need to start taking, global warming seriously, and there has to be preparation. Up in Scotland, they've got it right, and I'm no biased, but they've got it right. They're all ready for the winter to come. We need to, just be ahead and, in the summer, plan for the winter, for the worst case scenario. I don't understand what the problem is, why we keep having droughts and things like that.
Graham, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's just as we've been saying on the panel just now, it's like, we as individuals can prepare all we want. And there was one lovely lady, I can't remember what part of the world she was in, but her garden was beautifully green still because she'd been storing water in water butts, so had water to water her garden. Now, if the government could actually, take a leaf out of being prepared, as you say, Graham, then we wouldn't be in this situation every time a new season arrived and the normal traumas that brings for us.
Well, absolutely. I just think that when the winter comes, it's as if they only react when we're absolutely up to our knees in it. It goes for. I can remember just a couple of years ago with a bad winter, and they're all clambering at each other to try and find a solution, and it's just lack of preparation.
Yeah, it is indeed. So thank you. Yeah, see, we all know about this preparation thing. Graham, thank you so much for joining us today. Go and enjoy the rest of your lovely, hopefully sunny Sunday where you are. Right, again, it's a great debate, isn't it? And I'm asking, why is the UK so rubbish at coping with the weather? And lots of you, as we thought, have been getting in touch with your views on this. Right, Daryl, you say, Britain isn't bad at coping with the weather. We just like to moan about it. Well, that's true too. I mean, but we'll have something to chat about, haven't we? Rob, meanwhile, says the weather in Scotland will be different than the weather in the UK, in England rather. The Freudian slip there. The UK need to sort themselves out when it comes to preparing for extremes, which is true. But I mean, it's not often the extremes, is it, that throw us? And Lenny, you say there's so much hysteria surrounding the weather. Again, I agree with this one. When there doesn't need to be, I think everyone needs to just calm down, enjoy the summer evening. Absolutely. Meanwhile, Ian says that the British are so bad at coping with the weather because we haven't had it bad enough for long enough yet. That's cheerful. Thanks for that one. Right, OK. Now, we move on from the weather. It's a Sunday. I keep forgetting it's a Sunday. It's time for Supplement Sunday. Da, 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 da. Come on, give me some music here. The part of the show where me and my panel look at some of the other stories making the papers today. I'm joined by Conservative councillor Claire Purcell and a broadcaster Danny Calley. And our first supplement of the day is from the Daily Mail. Now, this is famed author J.K. Rowling, we don't need to say famed author, if you don't know who J.K. Rowling is, honestly, has received a death threat on Twitter in response to her support of Salman Rushdie after he was attacked and hospitalised. The police are looking into the incident of the death threat made to J.K. Rowling, but does the internet need better policing? Because basically J.K. herself tweeted, like, you know, hello Twitter, I've had this death threat. It's from a named account. There's a picture of the guy on there. Twitter, what you could do about it. And Twitter said, we've looked into our rules and regulations and this doesn't go against them. Hello? Your regulations literally say you can't do that. Danny?
Well, not being on any form of social media, I wonder whether the police are less likely to investigate a tweet threatening someone's life like this. And it wasn't, I'm coming to kill you. What it implied was she was going to be next.
You're next.
Exactly.
You're
exactly.
next.
No, I understand. But I don't think that if she was to get a handwritten note saying, you're next, then that's a lot more serious. The internet is full of empty, hollow threats. And I don't think we should give as much credibility to a threat, I'm speaking generally, than an actual threat on the phone, a letter, something that is more tangible than just some lunatic on Twitter. That's my personal view.
OK, Claire, do you agree?
No, I don't. And I think this is a matter for the social media platform, Twitter in this case. And I think for them to say, oh, it hasn't violated our rules, it's
that's
wrong.
Incorrect. Yeah.
And the problem is that it's not just one person putting their opinion out there. If it is a direct threat, which this was, is it going to rile up other people to them that it's a credible threat? You know, it could reach millions of people.
Yeah.
It could anger somebody enough that they could find out where she is, go to her door, find out wherever she's appearing next. And it puts her life at risk or her family's life at risk. So I do think it's a lot more serious than one person's sort of lunatic opinion on the internet.
But I think
it has that risk.
Liz Truss has said that she's going to free the cops from social media threats and social media, quote-unquote, verbal violence, if you like. So I think that there is a difference.
No, I think there is a
distinction.
I think there's a difference between the police getting involved in someone being upset by someone, something said, like an opinion, like J.K. Rowling has opinions on women's rights, and, you know, the police will investigate someone getting upset by that. But, you know, this clearly is a threat. You know, Salman Rushdie, knifed 15 times, battled for his life, thankfully is coming through it. But to receive a threat saying, you're next. And let's face it, the people that are very anti-J.K. Rowling who posted pictures of her house, pictures of her car number plate, talking to cars,
you know,
pictures of her kids online.
Is that it can lead to somebody taking up that mantle and being irritated enough to go and do something about it. And I think that's the last thing we need. I don't think it's a matter necessarily for the police, as you've just said.
But why not, though, if it's a death threat? Surely.
Well, I think that Twitter needed to have dealt with it properly in the first place. The police need to be aware of it. I don't think they need to go around sort of policing hurt feelings because they do nothing else all day.
No, but if it's a death threat, why are you saying the police shouldn't investigate?
No. I think they do need to do that, not the hurt feelings.
Oh,
I think direct threats and things like that, absolutely.
Yeah.
But also Twitter and any other social media platform need to take their responsibilities particularly seriously.
We're going to move on now to some serious hurt feelings between the UK and Greece. This is a supplement from the Sunday Telegraph. The ownership of the Elgin marbles has been in contention for decades. Currently residing in the British Museum of London, recently a senior Greek official identified the main issue as a need for legislative change. Can't even say that right. So, I mean, basically, we excavated and found them and brought them back here. There was a dodgy deal, to be fair, done at the time, that we would have the marbles and we'd look at them. So they're in the British Museum ever since. And now the Greeks are saying, we want them back. You've nicked them, basically. Claire, should we give them back?
Do you know what? Yes, I think we absolutely should. I think we received them in some strange and weird and wonderful circumstances. This has been going on for such a long time, and the legislation that protects it was meant to protect the artefacts to stop them being sold off. But I think this has now gone on for so long. It has. We just need to accept they aren't actually ours.
Yes, I mean,
and let's hand them back. And there's probably going to be 1,000,001 people that completely disagree with me on that. But that's what I think. Let's just hand them.
Danny, do you completely disagree on that?
Well, the strength of feeling, it's almost like the Argies with Las Malvinas, isn't it? It's like the Argentinians with the Falklands. The strength of feeling. We mustn't underestimate how angry some of the Greek people are about this. There's a line here at the bottom saying that they were stolen by Lord Elgin. In the early 19th century, an example of British imperialist plundering. If that is correct, Give them back to Athens.
But it was a deal that we did with the Greeks at the time.
Things have moved on and changed.
A dodgy deal.
I was going to say, I do think it perhaps was a little bit of a dodgy deal. And time has moved on. And I think that we need to sort of accept that for diplomatic relations between countries, shall we just end this now?
Be the bigger man.
Hand them back.
Be the bigger individual. And say, OK, they mean more to you than they mean to us. You're our European partners and friends. Have them back.
They're 2,500 years old. Have you ever seen them?
No.
I've seen pictures of them.
That's what I mean. So, you know...
In real life.
Why are we getting our knicks in a twist about something most of us haven't even seen?
Well, precisely. Most people think they're actually marbles as well. When you talk to people and you say the Elgin marbles, they think they're round things.
You know, we could flash a picture up now on screen and I still wouldn't be able to tell you what they were or what they look like. I mean, if every country around the world gave back the stuff they'd nicked from another country over the past, it would be just this mass exchange of art and everything, wouldn't it, going on? Because
like swapsies.
Let's face it, I mean, Germany have borrowed quite a bit over the past as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and they're actually
have.
So and they're very vocal in giving stuff back. Well, as provided they don't have to do the giving back. Right, OK. Oh my God, that's flown. On today's show, we've been asking: is the Tory leadership race undemocratic? According to our Twitter poll, 41% of you say yes and 59% of you say no. Interesting. So thank you so much for my panel today, Conservative Councillor Claire Pearsall and broadcaster Danny Kelly. It's lovely to have you. Thank you for coming. And thank you at home for all your company. I'm going to leave you the weather forecast and have a lovely Sunday evening. Thank you.
Looking ahead to this evening's weather, the UK is looking rather warm across England and Wales. Further north, heavy rain and thunderstorms will move across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Here's a closer look. A dry end to the day across southwest England with some late warm sunshine. There could be the odd shower, but most places will stay dry. A warm and dry evening's expected in the southeast with some hazy sunshine to end the day. Temperatures will linger in the mid-20s. Most parts of Wales will stay dry this evening with some sunny spells. However, there could be the odd shower later in the day. It'll be a balmy evening across the Midlands with some warm, hazy sunshine. After a hot day, temperatures will stay in the mid-20s throughout the evening. Plenty of sunny spells to end the day across northern England, and it'll feel rather warm. Skies will be a little cloudier along the northeast coast. Thundery showers will continue across Scotland this evening, bringing heavy downpours of rain. Showers will be hit and miss with some drier spells in between. It should be mostly dry and a mostly dry end to the day across Northern Ireland with some bright spells. However, the odd heavy shower is possible. Thunderstorms will continue in the north overnight, staying largely dry and warm elsewhere with a few showers moving into the west after midnight. And that's how the weather's shaping up overnight into tomorrow morning.
Join me, Darren Grimes, for Real Britain every Saturday and Sunday from 2 p.m. A news hour that comes with a trigger warning. Scorching hot opinion with prominent guests saying the unsayable and a little bit of weekend fun thrown in. Unlike other broadcasters, I won't be forgetting what the B in our name stands for. So howie in for Real Britain Saturday and Sunday from 2 p.m.